All right, welcome, boys and girls, to another episode of the IDP Plus podcast. And I'm joined here by my handsome co-host, Matt Record. Matt, how was week one for you?
Week one, full of highs and lows. A bad week of watching football still beats, a good Sunday any other time. So, my team obviously lost to your team. Got to address that elephant in the room, but I think there were some
Yeah,
positives for the Pats that were pretty good. But
yeah,
fantasy wise, is pretty mixed bag. There are a lot of
right.
surprises. So excited to unpack this week with you over this next hour or so, and yeah, see what we can learn.
Absolutely. That's what we're going to do for you today. We're kind of going to roll through each game. Key takeaways for IDP players for the most part. Possibly some offense. We might touch on some injuries with you and whatnot. But yeah, we're going to jump right into the Detroit Lions with a shocking start to the season, upset the Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. Now, of course, no Travis Kelce, so they had a shot. But man, I don't think anybody saw this coming. The big play, the big IDP play, came from Brian Branch, returned an interception for a touchdown. So you can see on our screen here, if you're watching on YouTube, we've got a nice little chart set up that will be coming out to all subscribers every week. We've got these nice little tables put together with stats and snap counts and scoring. All of our scoring we pulled from our IDP Invitational charity tournament. So the number one scorer for the Lions was Brian Branch on that big play. Matt, did you have anyone else that stood out to you for the Lions here?
Well, the Lions are fascinating, right? Because we really wanted to see what they would do at that linebacker spot, right? So
Mhm.
first of all, I was hammering the Brian Branch train all off season. I'm so stoked
Beautiful.
he did it. Granted, he got hurt, right? I'm not seeing anything online, so it must not be that serious. But I think that explains the
Right.
68% snap count there because he did
Mhm.
leave the game. But
Mhm.
yeah, the way he was being utilized was kind of like how you want him to be, right? Jaquan Brisker was that last year. It's like, okay, this guy, he's going to be instantly good there. But no, for the Lions, it was really the linebackers. Like, how much is Jack Campbell going to play? Like, is Malcolm Rodriguez going to play? We all expected Alex Anzalone to be the number one guy, or at least 1A, 1B, depending on, what Campbell did. But I mean, again, if
Mhm.
you're looking at this on YouTube, first of all, subscribe and comment. We really appreciate it.
Yes, we
But
will.
yeah, I mean, Anzalone, 94% of the snaps yielded some nice tackle numbers because of it. There, you scored 14 points with our scoring system here, which is again
Mhm.
pretty balanced for those that aren't familiar with it. Um,
Right.
uh, but yeah, but then uh, you see Jack Campbell only 38% of defensive
Mhm.
snaps. That wasn't due to injury. He just didn't.
Troubling.
They just didn't play him that much. And then Malcolm Rodriguez all the way down with 22% of snaps. So I think the
Yeah.
Malcolm Rodriguez train, at least right now, is parked, heavily
Yeah.
parked, and not going anywhere. We fully expect Jack Campbell to eventually get more playing time, but I thought
Mhm.
that's noteworthy at the very least. I mean, Derek Barnes got more snaps than him, 42%. So a lot of
Yeah.
the takeaways from week one, which you're going to hear this a lot, but it's very important, is less about the actual stats and more about the playing time. Like, obviously, you want people to
Mhm.
take advantage of playing time opportunities, but like,
Mhm.
who do the coaching staffs trust to be out there? Because it's someone that's getting 94% of the snaps, even though they're not necessarily scoring a whole bunch, they're going to have opportunities to
Mhm.
do it more so than players that aren't out there. So for me, the main takeaway for the Lions was, okay, we can't really trust Jack Campbell in any redraft league yet,
Right.
as much as we want to. Uh, yeah, that and Aiden Hutchinson's pretty good at football.
Yeah. So the only thing I want to warn people on Brian Branch, he did play 37 of 38 of his snaps in the slot, which is great going forward. However, you take away the touchdown and the return and the interception, and it was basically three tackles in total with nothing else. So and that ball kind of fell right in his hands. Not trying to be a Debbie Downer, just saying can't expect obviously an interception and a return for a touchdown every week. So be cautious with your starting lineups. Of course, we play the matchups, right? So playing a heavy passing Chiefs team, yes, without Travis Kelce. However, look, we still ended up with a great game for actually a few of the defensive backs. You can see 3 out of the top 4 scorers were defensive backs. So, and we also projected in our weekly preview that the pass rushers would struggle in this game because Patrick Mahomes converts the least amount of his pressures to sacks, so he doesn't get sacked. You can see Aiden Hutchinson. It was a decent game with our scoring. Other scoring could be way worse. Some scoring a lot better. James Houston, it doesn't even make it in the screen here. He did nothing. So those pass rushers really struggled. The defensive backs did very well. So the only other thing, if you are in CB required, Cameron Sutton put up a 0 burger while playing 100% of snaps. I did the write-up for this game. I did mention to kind of hang on with Cam Sutton if he's going to be playing that much. Lions are going to be in a lot of these types of games, I feel like, this year. So don't cut bait on Cam Sutton yet if you're in a CB required league. So
yeah, and I'd say the same thing for Kirby Joseph there. You can see the 6 points, 100% of the defensive snaps played. They trust him there. Like they'll be brighter days. Don't cut bait yet.
Exactly. He's going to be a little frustrating just because he's lining up like all over the field in different positions. Of his 65 total snaps, he was all over the place in the box, 22 in the box, 19 as free safety, 21 in the slot. That's it's good and bad. I wrote in my write-up that he's just going to be a headache and you're going to have a hard time guessing. But in deeper leagues, he should be rostered and might just be more of kind of like a bye week replacement because I think it's going to be hard to predict when he has a good game. So, but overall, very encouraging performance. So we're going to flip down to the Chiefs side of things. Very interesting game for the Chiefs. Our new writer, Corey Manes, predicted that Nick Bolton might struggle a little bit, and he did. He didn't really have a monster game. We had an exceptional game from the cornerback Trent McDuffie, not L'Jarius Sneed. I think you and me were on this train, right? Mostly you identified that McDuffie was playing a lot of Sneed's role when he got injured last year. And could we see that happen? Well, it did happen in this game. So Sneed put up a very solid game himself. You can see there playing 100% of snaps. George Karlaftis had a really nice game. No Chris Jones. I think he really stepped up. And then the hot pickup is going to be Michael Dana, right? What are your thoughts on the Chiefs side of things here?
I thought for the most part, the playmakers that we expected to play and play well did. Like I was ecstatic by that Trent McDuffie usage. It was kind of was exactly as we were expecting it, more in that really optimal spot for cornerbacks. Like he was so good that I would even throw him out there in a DB required league, like not even just a CB required. Like the Chiefs are gonna be in a lot of games where people are gonna be throwing a bunch on them because we expect the Chiefs to put up a lot of points. So really high on McDuffie. I mean, Michael Dana, like, yeah, he playing 86% of defensive snaps. That's crazy. Like I didn't see that coming. I mean, that's a huge amount of usage, and especially for how effective he was in that game. Like that's incredible. The other real takeaways for me, we always want to see that linebacker usage, right? Especially since the Chiefs went out and they got a Drew Tranquil, someone who was very good for the Chargers last year. Like, was he going to eat into anyone's snaps? And you can kind of see it bear out here. Like Bolton, 96% of defensive snaps at linebacker. The next highest linebacker was Willie Gay, which you kind of expect at 67%. Then look at little Leo Chanel, the former Badger, 40%. Right. And Drew Tranquil only playing 19%. So it's very clearly Nick Bolton's show, right? We were wondering if he'd be closer to 80%, but 96%. He's always there. He's the green dot. Maybe not his best game, but he's out there. And when he's out there, you're going to obviously play him. But yeah, and I don't really trust any of these other linebackers other than maybe Willie Gay, but that 67%. Like I always look for 80% usage to really trust the linebacker going out there to make plays. And I don't really love it.
Right. Yeah. Drew Tranquil is a cut in redraft leagues, easy cut. We told you not to bother drafting him even. So everything kind of shook out here outside of the Michael Dana and kind of Trent McDuffie overtaking L'Jarius Sneed. No major big surprises here, I don't think.
And you're going to be
Oh,
playing L'Jarius Sneed anyway, but it was more just like not him living up to the CB, like overall
right.
CB1 sort of thing, the price you had to pay for him. So if you have him, obviously, still roll him out there. He's still very talented, and he's obviously being used, right? It's just if you were expecting him to be the CB1, you might be sadly mistaken.
Yeah, his slot usage was, yeah, it was like non-existent for whatever reason. I don't know if he's lost his job there or what, but he basically didn't play in the slot. It was all Trent McDuffie and a little bit of Justin Reed.
Yep.
He L'Jarius Sneed took basically all of his snaps at straight up cornerback. So that's an interesting development. Anybody, and this is exactly why we preach: do not draft the number one corner from last year. It never, ever, ever repeats.
Never ever.
um,
And Chris Jones did sign that 1-year contract today. So
oh,
that
I
did
did not
happen.
know that.
So
I've been busy all day.
yeah, so that so hold out over. That will
Good.
obviously change some of the things for next week. Obviously, he's a stud. If you have him, you're throwing him out there in DT required leagues. Fascinating to see how that impacts the rest of the roster.
Yeah. The only other takeaway is the safeties is Justin Reed and Brian Cook. If you had taken a shot on Mike Edwards, you can cut bait with him and go get Brian Cook. They're both played 100% of snaps. Edwards was barely on the field at 23%. So he lost his job basically.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So that was our first little preview. Now Matt, I hate to put you on the spot here. I was gonna say our gambling picks. Are we gonna talk about that? Because I know I was to the moon. I was like, oh, I started off great 1-0, and then I was following the rest of my picks in the week, and
Yeah.
we came crashing back down to earth. We maybe don't have to review everyone. We can just say,
Well,
I know
I'll
I
just
did
tell you.
terrible by the end of the week.
I'll tell you, Steve went 4-12. So if you
Woo-hoo!
faded him, you've made a lot of money. I went 7-8,
Okay.
which, 50-50 shots, right? With the obviously we are recording this Monday night as we always do. So Bills at Jets is
Oh
still
yeah.
happening. You had Bills -2.5. I had Jets +2.5. Our listeners will know which one of us ended up there, right? But
Okay.
this is about right. So I figure at
Very
the
good.
end of this episode, we'll just quickly run through all the games and make our picks
Okay.
there. I think that makes the most sense. So stay tuned
Very
for
cool.
that.
Very cool. Very cool. Okay. So those charts are going to be, like I said, they're going to be up for you on the site tomorrow. Hopefully. We still got some. We got to get everything loaded up there. So we're going to use good old the source of them is Excel. So we're gonna use them for right now. So our next game was Arizona at Washington, and I will bring up those charts right now. Okay, we can start with here's Washington. Is that looking okay?
That is looking real swell.
Sweet. So Washington barely took out the lowly Arizona Cardinals, but we had some nice performances. Montez Sweat and of course everyone's favorite Cameron Curl atop things. I think seeing Jamin Davis only playing 65% of snaps, he still gave you double digits in our scoring, but nothing really crazy to write home about. With no Chase Young, Montez Sweat really stepped up to the plate here. So beyond him and Curl, and Jonathan Allen had a good game with the sack. But beyond them, we didn't really have a whole lot going on here. So outside Jamin Davis only playing 65% of snaps, I think that's kind of interesting, right? Anything else you see here?
Yeah, I think the main takeaways for me was that, yeah, Cody Barton was that LB1, 100% of the defensive snaps,
Mhm.
which did not lend itself to points this week.
Right.
But
This
again,
week.
that's one of those things. If he's playing 100%, like he's going to, over the span of the season, be that LB1. So feel
Mhm.
very confident throwing him out, even though this is a slow week. Yeah, Jamin Davis, 65%. Like that's not even close to the 80% I want. So
Yeah.
a real step back for me there. And I think two other takeaways for me, the safeties, right? Obviously, Cam Curl crushed it. Both produced and played 100% of the defensive snaps. But also look at a little Derek Forrest, who played very well last year too, also 100% of the defensive snaps.
Right.
So I like what I'm seeing in terms of those usage here for Washington, because if this stays consistent, we'll have a very good chance of projecting this defense because they kind of
Yeah.
play their guys without some rotation. So I really like that. The only other note for me is rookie Emmanuel Forbes, the cornerback, 65% of the
Yeah.
snap share. You'll see some other rookie cornerbacks that got way more than that. I can't emphasize it enough. In order for cornerbacks, especially to score points, they have to be on the field, right?
Right.
And we often like to look for those rookies because they're not quite up to speed with the NFL. So they'll give up passes. So they'll get a bunch of tackles, which we'll talk about some of them coming up.
Okay.
But the fact that Forbes only played 65%, maybe it's just a week one blip, but I'm kind of fading him a little bit to start this season.
Yeah, of course, Kendall Fuller got his 100%. Benjamin St. Just was the other corner who got 100%. So that's a little interesting. But yeah, it seems like the guys you want are the typical guys, the three linemen and Sweat, Allen, and Payne. Cody Barton looking like he's going to be, the guy in the middle. And then Forrest and Curl, and they could flip flop games. You never know. Let me check actually. What I think Curl was most likely the top box
Yes, he was. I think he
safety.
played 60%, something of that
Perfect.
ilk. Yeah,
Yeah, it
he
was.
was the box guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's- Oh, another guy we had creep up. Because I'm not on Washington anymore. Yes, but yeah. Regardless, those are the guys, and yeah, not anything too crazy. This was a very low scoring game, so neither team had multiple crazy options that did really well. So let's look at Arizona now. Did that flick to Arizona? No, it did not. All right. Sorry
Yeah.
about that. A little. Uh,
While you're pulling that up, Arizona was fascinating this week, right? Because we had no idea who they were going to play where on defense, and all the snap counts, and like it's fascinating. So now that we
yeah.
have this pulled up, like look at number one, Dennis Gardeck.
How frustrating, how annoying, right?
Well, it is what it is. I mean, he had 2 sacks, right? He had
Mhm.
4 combined tackles. Like that's 3 QB hits. Like he was forced fumble. Like he's all over the place. But he only
Yeah.
played 39% of snaps. So this is one of those players, right? That uh this can with that play percentage, this is not going to be a regular occurrence. Leave him on the waiver wire. Let someone else overreact and go pick him up. I mean, it's not really frustrating because I don't know what they're doing on their defense, especially the defensive line. Like even Zaven Collins, who might be their best overall player on the defensive end, only played 59%
That's
of snaps. So
yeah,
there's I'm kind of I don't want anything to do with that defensive line based off of these snap
yeah.
percentages,
It's
because even
gross.
the better people, they're not going to be out there enough to be consistent, right?
Yeah.
But look at linebackers, right? Like Kaiser White at 100%, that was
Mhm.
really cool to see. And then just a drastic fall off, right? Josh
Mhm.
Woods at 55%, Chris Barnes 27. Like really, it's Kaiser White at linebacker, and that's really it there. And then I think really the real bread and butter of this Cardinals defense from an IDP perspective are the defensive backs, right? So I liked
Mhm.
what I saw out of Jalen Thompson there. Obviously not his best day, but since
Right.
Isaiah Simmons was shipped off to the Giants, it's like, okay, is Jalen Thompson and Buda Baker there in the defensive backfield? And you can see that with their play time. So Buda Baker played 100%. Jalen Thompson played 99% of snaps. All really good stuff from an IDP perspective. But at the end of the day, this was not a very strong day for really anyone on this team.
No.
uh,
It's Dennis Gardeck is frustrating because that should have been Zaven Collins plays. I feel like, I feel like he
sure.
got robbed of that. Now maybe Zaven Collins just stinks, and maybe Gardeck will have earned himself some more playing time. But this is your definition of fool's gold. Do not go out and pick up Dennis Gardeck. Leave him for somebody else. Um, yeah. So that's the thing we want to hammer home here. All that efficiency on 39% of snaps. Now, unless that starts to tick up and he starts to, like I said, earn more playing time, but I would not be wasting a waiver claim on him.
Not worth it.
this is what happens when you have a rookie coach who's a ding dong, right? You get all this craziness. So I've got some major red flags for you, Matt, regarding the defensive back. So Kevon Wallace, you can see there as the fourth highest IDP score for the game, was a former Eagle who Gannon brought with him, and he barely ever played in Philadelphia. Couldn't see the field, whether it be, I don't think he was injured very often. I'm pretty sure he's just not a great player. And he walks into 70% snaps. Guess who played the most box snaps out of any safety on the team?
My guess is that's going to be Kevon Wallace.
Unfortunately, that's the case. Now, it was 21 for him. Budda Baker, this is where the red flags are. Budda Baker only 13 box snaps, 52 snaps in the free safety slot, which is why you see he did not have a great game. Now, again, this wasn't exactly passing powerhouses going back and forth here, but that's red flag city. Now, Jalen Thompson, he played 55 slot snaps. So I think that's good. That's encouraging. But yeah, this is just going to be a mess all year long, I think. Kaiser White chipping in with the 100% snaps, so that's what we wanted to see. If you play in cornerback leaves, Marco Wilson, I kind of have my eye on him in the beginning of the year, and he definitely balled out again, even in the low passing volume game. The guy I really was, so Cameron Thomas here, I kind of have my eye on him earlier in the year, but he only scored this because he, returned a fumble for a touchdown. Only 37% of snaps. I truly think he's their best defensive lineman, and he barely played. A bunch of random guys got sacks outside of Gardeck. We had Ledbetter, Watkins. I'm not going to try that last name today. Leaky Fotu got a sack. So, you can't trust any of them. I think I still would want Cameron Thomas over all of them. I think he's just a better football player, and hopefully Gannon sees that, and the cream will rise to the top there. But yeah, outside of Kaiser White, I'm scared for fantasy purposes for pretty much everyone on this defense, including Budda Baker.
And the offense, to be honest. Just avoid the Cardinals if you can.
Terrible.
Avoid them until there's some more clarity.
Ugh. We saw BJ Ojulari get no playing time. He's all the way down here. So another guy, if you were taking a shot on him in redraft leagues, time to cut bait. So all right. I think unless you've got anything else, we can move.
No, let's keep her moving.
Game. Okay. And that next game. I had it up here. So let me close this. And I will go to okay, we're going to hit Carolina and Atlanta. So there's Carolina. And another pick that I screwed up, although Carolina was kind of hanging with them in the first half. They did not cover.
That they did not.
Oopsies. Yeah. This is why I say, people, if you want to make some money, definitely fade my picks all year.
Eat us both.
All right, I will present this.
Yeah, the Falcons had a nice win, right? Fascinating offensive strategy by just running Algier and Bijan Robinson, but they got the win, so they don't really care, I suppose. But yeah, let's talk about the Panthers first here. So I thought the Panthers that we expected to play well really did. Like I think that the defensive backs all kind of had slower days than you'd want them to have. But again, they were going up against a Falcons team that just refuses to throw, right? So it was definitely one of those matchup things. Granted, they didn't put up like goose eggs for you, so you're still okay. So there'll be brighter days ahead. But yeah, I mean, Derek Brown, I think is him and Brian Burns were the main stories. Like, look at those snap percentages, both 96%, both had splash plays and sacks plus a really nice tackle floor, which is just elite, right? Like if you can't guarantee that you're gonna get a sack every game, but if you have that tackle floor of this is 9 and 7 tackles for Brown and Burns respectively, like that is just elite level floors there. Just happy to roll them out there. And then the linebacker spot, Frankie Louvu is the guy, 100%. 100% of snaps. Shaq Thompson also had 100% of the snaps, but had quite the worst day in terms of actual tackle production. But again, that's one of those things where it's very game script dependent, and also he's being in the right place at the right time. So I don't think a whole lot to glean there, other than you can trust both of those two. And then those are the linebackers. And then I think the safeties will expect better days moving forward. I wouldn't cut bait with any of them yet. Maybe Xavier Woods if you were holding on to stuff in the past, but he played 81% of defensive snaps. So I think we know who this defense is, and there's some nice playmakers there on all levels.
Yeah, the only problem with Woods' snaps is that over half of them come as free safety. So against low pass volume team like Atlanta, he's probably going to give you similar games like that. Kind of surprising that Shaq Thompson didn't do more with as much running, but I guess that's because it was getting eaten up in the middle by Derek Brown. So it looks like the system might be very friendly to Derek Brown now. But again, the matchup it has a lot to do with that. I don't have much to add on Carolina. Nothing too.
No,
crazy.
they're nice and predictable.
We can check out Chin really quick. I can touch on his. Where are his? Okay, so 3 on the defensive line, 21 in the box, 1 is free safety, 10 is slot, 2 in the corner. So he's all over the place. I think we were worried about him. I mean, he still played a good chunk of the snaps, so I don't know what to take away from him yet, considering he's all over the place there. The majority of his snaps did come in the box, so that's nice. But if he's not going to be on the field 100%, he's going to just have another very lumpy year, and he's going to be really frustrating. And you're never gonna figure out the right weeks to start him, unfortunately. So, all right, now we've got.
Ye ol' Falcons. Troy Anderson season is here.
It's here. Apparently, Jesse Bates season is here too.
Bates is just making plays all over the place. Obviously, you can see the 2 interceptions, the forced fumble, 2 passes defended, all with 10 combined tackles. So you love all of that stuff. And again, my main takeaway from that is those 94% snap count and the 10 combined tackles. Because if you can just predictably do that at the defensive back spot, you're going to be doing just fine. Never mind the 2 interceptions and the forced fumble. So Bates is here. Didn't take away anything from Richie Grant's snap percentage. Richie Grant played 100%. So you like that, building off of that really successful year last year. 7 combined tackles here in a pass defended. I think that's a pretty standard stat line for Grant, or what to expect. So I'm not going to complain about that. So I'm not mad about that at all. But then look at those linebacker usages. Caden Ellis, as we kind of expected, 100% of the defensive snaps. He's right there. Troy Anderson, way behind that with 99% of the defensive snaps. They basically missed 1 snap. Maybe his shoe was untied or something. That is elite usage, and there's no one else really close at that linebacker spot. In fact, we only have one other linebacker even on there, Tay Davis, for 85% of special teams stats.
Yes. Okay. He scored 1 point, and that was just from special teams, right? Okay. So it is the Ellis and Anderson show for sure.
So plug them both in. You might be able to find one of them on some waiver wires in some more shallow leagues, but they should be top 25 plays, I think, moving forward, which is really fun for those who've been following their careers. But otherwise, David Onyemata, the journeyman defensive tackle, had a nice scoring,
solid,
nice scoring day with 4 combined tackles, a tackle for a loss, 2 QB hits. Only played 52% of snaps, which it's a bit of a red flag there. I'll let someone else correct to that. And then similarly for Lorenzo Carter, right? Only played 44% of the defensive snaps. He scored well because he got that sack, but that's not a usage rate that I'm necessarily thrilled with.
Yeah, those are role players, right? He's an edge rusher. Carter, Onyemata's supposed to be more of like a run stuffer. He looks like he got his hand up and batted a pass as well. Grady Jarrett is your classic He's a pass rushing defensive tackle, split the sack with Anderson there. So I mean, if you got really deep defensive tackle required leagues, Animata for sure should be on the radar. Carter, even Carter and Bud Dupree, he played a decent amount of snaps, but didn't really give you much besides assisted tackles. So next week he could have the sack. So yeah, you're not going to want to rely on that. Don't go chasing Carter or Dupree. Looks like Arnold Abichetti, even in dynasty leagues, might be a cut. Second round pick, only played 23% of snaps. So it's really the safety show there and the linebacker show. What's more impressive with Jesse Bates' stat lines, he did that with playing overwhelming majority of his snaps in the free safety position. So 58 of his total snaps as free safety. So really impressive stat line. Might be a little pause for concern. Obviously he's not going to intercept 2 passes every game either. They were playing the rookie quarterback who was behind, chucking it. So in a really nice position. I still think at the end of the year, probably Richie Grant shakes out to be your number one out of those two. Just because of his role and where he lines up, mostly in the box. So, but he was splitting time at free safety as well. So, but both really encouraging. Looks like we've got Von Bell and Jesse Bates from Cincinnati 2.0 here in Atlanta. Both are going to be solid options.
Yeah, start both with confidence.
Mm-hmm. All righty. Next games, we've got Cincinnati and Cleveland.
Ooh, what
man.
game.
I know my bet ate shit there for sure. I don't think many people gave Cleveland much of a chance, and they took it to them. So I'm gonna bring Cleveland up here first.
Cleveland.
So we've got not a crazy IDP scoring day, despite the bad weather. You would think lots of fumbles, maybe some interceptions, but we had
look at those
none
snap totals. Like,
yeah,
the Bengals did not sustain drives surprisingly enough for there to be any volume stats.
This
right?
was one of the lowest of the week, if not the lowest.
And there's surprising, like you said, surprisingly few number of splash plays. There's 2 sacks, no interceptions. Like really, if you're not getting the volume for tackles and you're not getting the splash plays, there's not a whole lot going on. Granted, I do think there's some stuff to learn here. So first of all, if you have Myles Garrett, you should be playing Myles Garrett.
Doing Myles Garrett things.
Just a freaking stud.
4 QB hits.
One of the best to do it, obviously. But the other defensive linemen did pretty well too. Like Zadarius Smith with 66% of defensive snaps with 4 QB hits. He was around the quarterback all day. Agbania Okoronkwo.
My God.
Just all around, he got a sack.
He got home,
Yeah, 3 combined tackles. That looks really good. Only 61% of defensive snaps played, however. So he's on. I like all those, especially in those deeper leagues. All those that defensive line is really good.
Yeah.
And then the safeties you expected to be good were good. Like Grant Delpit, we've been hammering his bell all year. 8 combined tackles, pass defended, 98% of snaps played. Like he's a stud who can be played everywhere. Greg Newsome had a really good day. Denzel Ward, all of those players did really well. And then the icing on the top is the linebacker room, which is become way more clear for me that I don't want to have anything to do with this linebacker room. The lead linebacker, JOK, only played 77% of snaps, and he didn't do a whole lot with that. And everyone else, like Sion Takitaki, 41%, Anthony Walker, 59%. Like that is terrible usage from an IDP perspective. Avoid them at all costs. I don't know if you want to hold on to JOK for the name value in the deeper leagues, but you shouldn't be starting any of these people with any amount of regularity.
Dynasty, maybe, but it looks like I was really surprised to see how little Anthony Walker played, especially in a game like that. It's gross, and I think I believe in Taki the most, but he is also coming back from an injury, so he might be brought along slowly. But I think if you want to stash someone for a second half of your run, it's Taki. And of course, even though my guy Okoronkwo got home with the sack, I still think it's Zadarius. The pecking order is Garrett, Smith, and then Agbo, double O. Smith is just getting those 4 QB hits versus double O only got 1 QB hit and happened to get the sack on it. So I will, acquiesce there that, although I really liked him, I'm not counting on that every single week. So that for sure is the pecking order. And linebackers, unless you're desperate, you don't want any of them.
Fact.
All right. So now we go to
the Bengals. What a disappointing way to start the year for them.
I know. So Jermaine Pratt was the top scorer. Kind of frustrating for us Logan. Oh no, it's not up here. Us Logan Wilson managers. We were expecting him to have those stats, and Logan Wilson played 100% of the snaps versus Pratt's only 89%. So this must have just been deployment, usage, and probably a little bit of luck there with getting home on the sack. So, could be another slow start for Logan Wilson this year. He's still playing 100% snaps, so don't get too frustrated. Hopefully he starts chipping in with some of those. My biggest takeaway, the rookies aren't getting much play. I left them on there at the bottom just to show. Jordan Battle didn't play a single actual defensive snap. He only played special teams, and Miles Murphy only got 18% of snaps there and recorded no stats. So, what do you got on the Bengals?
Yeah, I mean, Dax Hill really stepping up there with 99% snaps. And,
that's your guy.
The interception and the 6 combined tackles, like that's exactly what we want to see from him. So that's one of my big takeaways. And then really the Trey Hendrickson, I feel like there's a cliff for him the last few years, and I don't know what happened because he was very good and now he's not. And you can even see that with the 59% of defensive snaps played. Like he got home, he got a sack, right? So he's still effective. But Hubbard, if you're starting anyone on that defensive line, is kind of the guy. BJ Hill is a vastly underrated defensive tackle in defensive tackle required leagues. So you like seeing that coming from him. But no, this is pretty much, I mean, that's the Logan Wilson experience right there. Like, what you're getting. Like, you don't get a whole lot of splash plays. You're going to get 8 to 10 combined tackles per game, which, again, there's an absolute space for that. And pretty much regardless of league size and format, like that stability is key, is really nice, but you're not going to get those explosive games like the Jermaine Pratt. So, I think in general, this is the defense we expected. It was gross out. It was so gross out in that game.
Yes.
It was pouring rain. Neither offense really succeeded that much. Like obviously the Browns made a few more plays, but I'll be interested to see how this defense looks, in better conditions with some offenses that are actually, be able to move the ball. I mean, look at those snap counts too, like a 74. A lot of chances for volume stats here. So
exactly,
take all of this stuff with a little bit of a grain of salt.
When you're getting spanked like they did, they were on the field quite a bit. So encouraging to see Nick Scott up there too. Looks like both him and Hill could be serviceable all year long. Of course, Hendrickson, got home on a sack, and he's one tackle to assist. So he's doing his continued sack or bust work. Sam Hubbard with a solid overall total tackles game, but didn't give you any big splash plays. So everyone doing their job here and what we're used to seeing them do. So nothing crazy. They said the only thing, I'd probably be patient with Wilson, and you might see those stats kind of flip flop at some point during the season. And I guess it just depends.
And even this isn't even that bad of a day. Like, you still had 50 points in the scoring system. It's just that's kind of what you get. And especially in leagues like this where you're starting 3 linebackers, like you're gonna absolutely take that.
Yeah, so everyone's gonna go rush get Pratt. I would say if you're a Wilson, okay, what would you do if you're in a start 3 linebacker league? You have Wilson, Pratt's on the waiver wire. Are you cashing in? Are you chasing the points? Or are you sticking it out with Wilson?
I'd still stick it out with Wilson, I think.
Yeah. I would give the same advice. So okay, that is good for that game. We are going to move to Baltimore, Houston. Another one. I remember my picks on that. I thought Houston would show us something. I feel like they had moments where they showed some good stuff on offense, but ultimately the Ravens were just too much. And all right, takeaways. We saw Roquan play 100%. Patrick Queen had a really great game. Both him and Roquan got to the quarterback, and
I
that's what
love
we
Patrick Queen.
see. Yeah, I mean,
Ugh.
Patrick Queen still doing Patrick Queen things. You know, getting him at the value that we got him all year.
Mhm.
Yeah. Who Patrick Queen versus Jermaine Pratt? I think it Patrick Queen, right? we
100%, 100%.
Yeah. See, so don't go chasing the points for when you have 100% snap guys who are they're letting them loose after the quarterback. So I think the defensive backs are the story here. Marcus Williams got injured. Kyle Hamilton played 99% of snaps, but sucked. He didn't give you anything. Brandon Stevens, who's listed as a cornerback here, but I think let me actually check. I think he played most of his snaps as a safety
Mm.
in this game. So give me 1 second to find that. Okay. He's listed as a cornerback here too. But where did he actually play? So he did play 72 overwhelming majority of his snaps at straight up cornerback. So he just
Hmm.
had a really busy day with, I guess, Houston being behind all the time. And then we see Ronald Darby up there with a solid game. Our Darius Washington, he must have been the Marcus Williams replacement. It looks like he got most of his snaps as a slot. So
Hmm.
he's listed as a safety, but was playing a lot of slot. He looks like got a sack, pass defended. So really interesting day. You would have liked to see some of those big splash plays for some of those defensive backs go to Kyle Hamilton, wouldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the key here for those following us on YouTube, you can see all of the players there, right? Like, there's only 16 players that played on this defense in non-special team form. So obviously we have Trenton Simpson there all the way at the end, who played a bunch of special teams snaps, but he's not going to be
Mm-hmm.
relevant unless there's an injury to one of the other linebackers, right? That's
Exactly.
incredible consistency, right? Like, we
Mm-hmm.
know the Ravens trust these particular players you see on your screen, and they're going to play a whole bunch, right? So I think
Yeah.
who goes off each week, like, you obviously will feel very confident with Roquan Smith and Patrick Queen any given week, but I think it's more matchup dependent in terms of some of these other stats. So we know the Texans rookie QB, they tried to get some stuff moving. They weren't very successful, to be honest. Like, no, Dameon
Mm-hmm.
Pierce had a really tough day in the office, which because he kept running into the Roquan Smiths and Patrick Queens of the world. So there weren't a
Yeah.
whole lot of opportunities for the defensive backs necessarily do the things we want them to do, or that you'd want them to do. Namely the Kyle Hampton. So I would not give up on him yet. Obviously, 100 or 99% of the defensive snaps played. I think he'll be just fine. I think the big thing for next week is who benefits from the Marcus Williams injury, which hopefully he comes back soon because I really like him. But I think to your point, it's our Darius Washington. Like, that seems to be
Yeah.
correlated to me. But that's a very valuable role. That's a very valuable role in this defense, right? So,
Yeah.
uh,
I
so yeah,
think I think he ate some of these guys ate so much because Houston was just behind and running out a bunch of three wide receiver sets or Dalton Schultz in the slot there. It was actually Geno Stone who played the most free safety
mm,
snaps, so he seems to be the direct Marcus Williams replacement, but maybe not for IDP because that role is as just a free safety chilling back there, not productive. And we saw that because who played 43 free safety snaps? Kyle Hamilton with
mhm.
this cruddy game. So with all this passing going on, this a bit of a red flag. I'm a little nervous there, especially with the injury. Kyle Hamilton might be you know coming towards bust territory. I don't want to quite throw the B word totally out there, but that's just looking at if this were to continue all season. I know it's only 1 week, but if this were to continue all season, I think it's gonna be really hard for Kyle Hamilton to live up to where everyone was drafting him and the expectations they had. So
For sure.
I don't know. All right, we can do Houston next. Houston, we have a problem because they got smoked and Jalen Petrie got injured. So
bruised lung.
That's not coughing up blood and everything. I heard wow,
that's bad.
Not great, not great, Bob. Yeah. So why don't you give your thoughts on the Texans?
Yeah, I mean, Denzel Perryman is him. He's the guy we thought he was going to be.
Yeah.
Obviously, I expected Christian Harris to have the 95% of snaps and Denzel Perryman to have the 72% of snaps, but it was flipped. It was Perryman, 95%. Christian Harris, 72. So yeah, Perryman is that LB1 there. Apparently, I guess the coaching staff just trusts him more, that journeyman. So he should absolutely be rostered everywhere. He's going to put up top 20 at least numbers every week if he gets this amount of usage on this defense that's going to be on the field quite a bit. So I think that's the main takeaway for me, other than obviously the Petrie injury. That's gonna have major ramifications for this team. Obviously he was the DB1 last year, and now we'll see how long he's out. There's a chance he comes back next week. We don't know. I don't know what a bruised lung does for your ability to play football. Doesn't sound good.
Great.
Doesn't sound good. But yeah, and then I guess the only other thing for me was just, Will Anderson looks like the real deal. 75% of defensive snaps. He got home. He had 6 combined tackles. Again, you love to see that floor. No, I think he is maybe, other than some of the cornerbacks we will cover coming up soon, one of the only rookie IDP players I'd feel confident throwing in your lineups already.
Absolutely. Jonathan Greenard might have a resurgence here. Played more snaps by one than Will Anderson, and also got home. If you put any stock into PFF grades, Christian Harris had another terrible PFF grade for this game in total. So that could be why Perryman's the solid guy out there. You saw Derek Stingley play 100% of snaps, so CB required leagues. That's really encouraging.
I love Stingley. I really do.
Yeah. I was bummed to see that Jimmy Ward was out for this game. I thought he was going to be a big part of this team. So it looks like Eric Murray is Eric Murray is this year's Jonathan Owens potentially. So he's kind of next man up. He was, he's not locked into a free safety role. I see he was playing 20 snaps in the box, 34 at free safety, 9 in the slot. So they were kind of using him everywhere. So Eric Murray is your emergency / Hail Mary safety pickup of the week, I think. And yeah, we just got to monitor what Petrie. This defensive line never really produced. I left Jerry Hughes on there with 0 points at 36% snaps. You really only want Will Anderson and Denzel Perryman here. Anyone else, it's going to be complete toss-ups when they ever do anything. So Tavier Thomas obviously is the number 1 IDP player. We also reward corners with some bonuses, so that's why he's up there. But did force a fumble, tackle for a loss, so he could be a very solid guy. I was expecting that kind of stat line from Stingley, to be honest with you, but it looks like, I wonder that Thomas might be there. Yes, he's their slot guy. So what's the formula? The slot guys have usually the highest upside and consistency potential for IDP, and looks like that's Tavier Thomas, whereas Stingley's playing that outside boundary corner. So he's going to have really good games. It's just going to be much harder to get him in your lineup and take advantage of that versus a guy like Thomas.
Especially when Thomas is only on the field for 62% of the snaps, right? It's like bit of an outlier there, bit of a red herring.
Yeah, for sure. All righty. That covers that game. So now we move on to Jacksonville and Indy. One of my few that covered. I picked Jacksonville, I believe, to cover. So that that was one of my 4 wins.
We did it.
So there's Indy. Get back with the guys here.
Yeah, this is a really fun game to watch.
Yeah.
And offensively, Calvin Ridley is freaking good. He's good
Whew.
at football.
Guess I should have taken him in the middle of the second round over Cooper Kupp, who I thought was a great value at a week ago.
So not to,
Hey,
yeah, not that I don't love talking about the Colts, but I don't know if there's much to talk about here with the Colts defensively. Like basically all
yeah,
the people that we thought were going to be good were good. Like Zaire
right.
Franklin played 100% of defensive snaps, led the team with 18 combined tackles. Ugh.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
unreal.
incredible. DeForest Buckner, you drafted him as a star defensive tackle. He only played 67% of snaps, but he got home, and you got 7 combined tackles. That's freaking elite. Kwity Paye looks to be getting that nice
Yeah,
start to
the breakout could
hopefully
be
breakout.
finally here.
Yeah, 66%. You want to see that a little bit higher, but again, that's not terrible, especially since he got home. Yeah, then the fact that Shaquille Leonard was on the field for 86% of
Yeah,
snaps is
very
noteworthy.
nice.
Like that's a lot. Like
Yeah,
he's healthy and playing, which means the other linebackers are all kind of fading into view. But yeah, I think this is Zaire Franklin's defense now. Obviously, Leonard has the name, but Franklin should be considered the number 1 linebacker there. And then kind of everyone else kind of falls into the roles we expect them to be in. I would maybe expect some better production from the defensive backs, namely Julian Blackman and or the Rodney Thomases of the world, especially with that amount of play time. But
right.
to me, just an oddity this week that they didn't do as well. But really, the Stars and the Colts are the Stars.
Yeah, you got it. I quickly wanted to see who was playing the box. So it looks like Julian Blackman was taking the bulk of the box snaps for the safety. So he's probably the one you want. Rodney Thomas, virtually all of his snaps were free safety, which that was his role kind of last year, and he had some nice games with interceptions and whatnot. But it looks like Blackman is if you're going to take a shot on one of these safeties, he's the one you want. For cornerbacks, the only thing I want to touch base quickly on is the rookie second rounder, Julius Brents, did not play. I think when he's healthy and back, you see him ascend very quickly upon this depth chart that has nobody outside of Kenny Moore, who is aging and, for IDP purposes, gave you a very mediocre game with all the passing that was going on there. So, yeah, Tony Brown had an interception. That was it. So yeah, keep your eyes on Juju Brents if you're in a corner league. That's all I really
For
got.
sure.
That's fine. All right. Okay.
Sometimes it's nice when it's just easy like that, Like,
Yeah.
you should play. No, you shouldn't. Thank you, Colts. And now the fun rising defense that is the Jaguars.
Here it finally is. Okay. Josh Allen, the monster game. He's playing for a contract. We said that, right?
Yes, sir.
Last year, kind of slow. This is a contract year because they did not take his 5th-year option. So he is playing for the bag. They gave him a pretty decent opportunity at almost 80%, 79% of snaps. So they're giving him the chance to earn that contract. Trayvon Walker got a hair more at 85%. They both got home. Except Allen got home 3 times on the rookie quarterback. Trayvon Walker only 1. Only other takeaway I've got here is that Chad Muma played 0 snaps. All his snaps were on special teams. That kind of stinks. Devin Lloyd did play 100%. Looks like maybe he's back in favor, although he didn't give us much of an IDP game. Yeah, at least he was on there for 100%. So keep your eyes peeled on Devin Lloyd. So and of course Tyson Campbell, the top cornerback there to own. I think I want Campbell over either of the safeties. I just think his ceiling is so much higher week to week. So do you got anything on Jacksonville there?
Honestly, not much more. Like again, this is one of those defenses where they only played 16 people, 15 people again, because Muma was special teams. Like that is for you start 11 players on defense and there's only 15 people on the stat sheet. Like that is incredible knowledge to know who's playing what. frequently. So they trust their guys. So if you have any of these players that you're seeing those 100 or close to 100% of defensive snaps played, like you can just roll them out and trust that they're going to do what they need to do. And that is refreshing from the IDP side.
Absolutely. All right. We will go to next game, San Francisco and Pittsburgh. San Francisco took care of business there. Kenny Pickett had a terrible game, and Nick Bosa also had a terrible game. So you see Drake Jackson at the very top, who got home 3 times on Kenny Pickett on just 44% of the snaps. So is this fool's gold, or what do we have here in Drake Jackson, Matt?
I think two things can be true. Like
Thank
this is
you.
obviously fool's gold, right? I mean,
Right.
44% of snaps, 20 snaps, 3 sacks. That's like what? Getting a sack on 12% of your freaking like times you're out there. That's not happening. But he also had 3 QB hits, 2 tackles for loss. Like he was just in that backfield. Obviously, this is a bit of a whomping. This game, not a whole lot of fun to watch. But we like what we saw from Jake Jackson in terms of how we graded out last year. I think playing next to a Nick Bosa like can only help you, right? And Javon Hargrave too had a really nice game as well. So he is one that I'm monitoring. I'm not going to trust throwing him out there anytime soon because of that limited snap count. But if he keeps getting this kind of production, I think the 49ers are kind of be forced to play him.
Yeah, absolutely. We always projected as a starter, and they always projected as a rotation. So I mean, Cleveland Farrell's in down there. I think what happened with Bosa is just, he didn't practice. I feel like they didn't want to. 56% of snaps. I feel like they brought him along a little slowly. Maybe the motor was turned down a little bit, especially when they went up really early, really quickly. I think there was probably a mutual understanding there that, hey man, let the young guy shine. You don't have to go crazy in this game because it's pretty much in the bag here. So no other notables. Lenoir, the corner, was always our favorite corner to have there. Fanga had a great game as usual. Warner did outscore Greenlaw in this one. They both paid close to, if not all, of the snaps, so they're going to be fine all year long. I don't really have much else on this one.
No, the 49ers defense is very good. And you know which players you got to play from. No one really on the waiver wire train here because no one got hurt. So keep on keeping on.
All right. Now Nick Bosa played his brother, who had a monster game. So TJ Watt did TJ Watt things. He is back. When he is healthy, I think it is not arguable that he has the highest IDP ceiling of any defensive player out there. Would you agree or disagree with that?
He is just health. When he's healthy, he is unbelievable, and you're not going to have a higher ceiling. As a player. I hope this is a healthy TJ Watt year because it's just fun to see.
Yeah,
it's just fun to see.
It absolutely is.
Like the 3 sacks and 71% of the snaps played with the 5 combined 5 QB hits. That's insane. That's insanity. Obviously, if you have him, you're rolling him out there. Other takeaways here. I thought the linebacker splits were fascinating. The fact that Quan Alexander played 69%, Landon Roberts played 43%, and Holcomb only played 78%. Like we kind of thought Cole Holcomb was going to get a little more shine after bringing him in there, but didn't crack the 80%. So that's a pretty big fade for me. Really, any of those linebackers, unless something changes there. And then
it's a mess, right? And obviously Quan Alexander needs to be on the waiver wire radar. I just don't know that I'm investing too much or don't drop a stud or anything like that. But in deeper leagues, he's going to be a hot pickup, and obviously very well should be. I think he earned it. So yeah,
agreed. Yeah, and then Minka Fitzpatrick also continues to be one of the more stable defensive backs you can
Of
have out there.
course.
Very slow game here, just with the 4 combined tackles, only the 7
Hmm.
points in this scoring system, but 100% of the snaps played. Like, he's always been a pretty big boomer bust guy, who will give
Hmm.
you a decent enough floor, but then has a knack for making those big plays. And this is a game that kind of just got away from the Steelers, so I'm not going to read
Hmm.
too much into that.
Yeah, I
Oh,
thought they were. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, burying one of the bigger leagues
y-
for defensive tackle people. Cameron
Yeah,
Hayward got hurt. That sucks.
I
Uh,
know. Do we know how
Potential.
bad it is?
I can look it up real quick. Potential
Yeah.
opportunity for the DeMarvin Leals,
Yes.
Neals
That's.
or it is Leal of the
Yep.
world. You can see he got the a pretty decent amount of playing, or decent enough for him. He's gonna miss
Mhm.
multiple weeks. It says
Okay, that
multiple
stinks.
weeks.
So yeah, it's now the Larry Ogunjobi show along with the Marvin Leo. Remember, he was a second round pick just last year, barely
Mhm.
played last year, but he's going to be called up big time now. So Ogunjobi, I think both of them are pretty. I mean, they almost played 38% for Leal and 63. So um, it's still Ogunjobi's gonna be the primary guy. Oh, the other rookie, or the Marvin Leal was rookie last year. This year's rookie, Keanu Benton, played
Mhm.
43% of snaps. So Leal had the higher production on slightly less snaps. It's gonna be a mess. If you're DT required, I think honestly, I think I like Leal as a higher ceiling guy. But if you want a more stable floor, I think it's Ogunjobi and then the rookie Benton. Who knows? Montravius Adams is another name. Played 50% of snaps, but gave us almost no production. So this is gross, and I think it's just going to lead to a lot more TJ Watt and a lot more Alex Highsmith.
Fact. Fact.
Yikes. Yeah. Okay. So you got anything else on that game?
Sure don't.
Okay. That
Keep
was
her moving.
Pittsburgh and San Francisco. Okay, Tampa Bay and Minnesota. I gotta stop talking last because I was trying to stay on top of these with you, and then I'm trying to open them, and then I'm talking and I forget. So my apologies for dragging this along.
Oh, you're
Here
good. We're
is.
cruising. We're on pace for like a sub 2 hour podcast. That's pretty
All
huge.
right, good. All right, Tampa Bay first. Devin White is still good at especially IDP. Antoine Winfield, despite I want to double check on that. Despite the concerns of sort of playing out there in center field as more of the free safety, he did come away with a really big game with a sack, uh, forced fumble and a fumble recovery, 2 QB hits. So he really had an Antoine Winfield type game that we know he's all capable of. However, he did lead everyone in free safety snaps, although Ryan Neal wasn't far behind with it was 39-34. So this may not be as clear of a who you want situation. And you're kind of going with the more talented guy in Winfield. So Ryan Neal had a solid enough game, gave you tackles, but nothing else. So that very, and then we know that Winfield is their big play guy. So everyone else pretty much performed to expectations here. Would you agree?
Yeah, again, the Buccaneers are very good at telling us who they like with the play times. So all of the
Mm-hmm.
stars kind of played the percentages you want them to. Devin White, 98%, Winfield, 98%, Levante David, 95%. The Neils, the Carlton Davises, 100%. Like, that's very helpful for us, right? And they all kind of lived
Mm-hmm.
up to the billing. I think the only other takeaway for me is just the defensive tackles kind of all fading. That seems to be more of a rotation. We know
Mm-hmm.
Vita Vea is getting up there in age, and they drafted the Kalijah Cansey of the world, who, and like Logan Hall has been around for a while too, but they've got Greg Gaines apparently. I'm learning that now.
Yeah,
But so there's
might
a
have
bunch of
lost his job.
rotations, like with no one really exceeding that 60% snap percentage. Like it's going to be, or 62 for Logan Hall. It's going to be hard to trust any of those defensive tackles with any regularity. So I think for me, it's the linebackers and defensive backs for the Bucs, and then kind of
Yeah.
fading the defensive tackles as needed.
Perfecto. Okay. So we will close Tampa Bay. And we will come, all right, to one of my favorite developments of the year in
Ivan Pace.
Minnesota.
Ivan Pace.
Ivan Pace. Oh, he is officially the guy.
Brian
As this is
Asamoah,
streamed.
who?
Yep. So yes, this was awesome. Ivan Pace got 68% of the snaps, 8 total tackles, and a QB hit. I mean, he's doing what he did in college, rushing the passer. This is great news, and he absolutely needs to be a waiver wire pickup, I think, in leagues that start 3 to 4 linebackers. Maybe he doesn't, go inserted right into your starting lineup next week, but he needs to be stashed on your bench for sure. And Brian Asamoah is droppable at 3% of snaps. He was a special teamer at 43% of special team snaps. Jordan Hicks at 97 gave us nothing besides 3 assisted tackles, which is kind of crazy. So this was the Daniil Hunter show and the Ivan Pace show, and a handful of defensive backs thrown in here. So do you have any other major takeaways?
It was a weird game for the Vikings in general.
I know.
We expected them to home opener destroy a seemingly going in the
Mm-hmm.
wrong direction Bucs team.
Right.
Apparently, the Bucs defense was not told that, and it tended to be very good. I think the main takeaway here is Ivan Pace. I would temper expectations still with that
Right.
68% snap percentage. Just in terms of where uh, we thought the snaps were going, why he's an ad is there's a very real chance that that number creeps way the heck up really
Mm-hmm.
quick. So kind of a speculative ad there, but still something that's very important to sort of pick up if you can. Otherwise, yeah, the defensive backs played as much as we thought they would, right? The Buccaneers don't have a great offense, so like the defensive backs didn't score a whole much. I expected a little more from Byron Murphy, as well as like the Harrison Smiths of the world, but the snap percentages are there. You just have to assume
Right.
they'll regress back to the mean next week. So keep rolling them out with confidence.
Yeah, the Ivan Pacey, I mean, 68% week one. I think he potentially earned himself
Agreed.
some more snaps there. So I think that's more encouraging than anything. I mean, just the fact that Asamoah basically didn't see the field at all,
Yeah,
um,
that's
to
huge.
let you know that it's now Pace's job to potentially lose. So I
Oh,
think,
and Daniil Hunter's back. Look at that,
yeah.
85% of snaps, a sack, 7 combined tackles, a pass defended. Like Daniil Hunter's back. He's an absolute must start.
Yeah, I think he could be he could be playing for a bag as well. So he's got a lot of motivation, I think, this year. So yeah, great. And we are on to Tennessee. Tennessee and New Orleans, the field goal game du jour. And we will start with the Titans. My guy, a guy I've been hammering all season. Amani Hooker came through, although he's banged up now, of course. So I'm not sure how bad that is. We will obviously keep you updated that with our written content for sure. By the way, written content gotta be a subscriber, guys. So not only subscribing to this awesome show here, but you hop on over to idpguys.org, click that subscribe button, enter yourself the IDP plus sign pod, IDP plus pod, get yourself 10% off. Try us out for a month. Let us know what you think. I think you'll stick with us all year. You get all the written content. You don't get just a little teaser. You get the rankings. You get the Discord, which beyond the written articles, you come to us in the Discord. We will help you through managing your team all season. So really would love and appreciate anyone checking this out. These charts here are gonna look really freaking sweet on the website
Hmm.
tomorrow. So you get the full access to that. You don't have to sit here and pause the video. Throw 10 bucks out there and become a subscriber for a month. Give us a shot. So in Tennessee, you'll get great advice like Amani Hooker, amongst other guys that played really well. So what else you got on the Titans here, Matt?
Yeah, Jeffrey Simmons, elite defensive tackle, continues to do it.
Playing
And
a shit ton of snaps for a defensive
shit
tackle.
ton of snaps. But then, yeah, a little disappointed in the Azeez Al-Shaair
Uh-huh.
intro to the Titans. He got the snaps, though, 98%. I think
Yes.
that's a regress to the mean sort of thing. The
Exactly.
snaps did bear out what we thought. Jack Gibbons outscored him, but he only played 65%. So
Mhm.
Al-Shaair is the LB1 there. Bit of a slow start.
Yeah.
If someone decides to drop him, like scoop him up because he'll have the opportunity to do all the things we kind of told you he would do. But yeah, Arden Key, for me, watching this
Mhm.
game exploded off the screen. I mean, obviously a sack and a half, 4 combined tackles, 2 QB hits. I was very interested to see the snap percentage that he had.
Mhm.
Yeah, 55%, not nearly as much as it seemed like, because whenever he was out there, he was making plays. So
Yeah.
definitely something to
Could
keep
see that
in mind.
rise.
That snap percentage is not enough for me to
Mhm.
necessarily go spend a whole lot for him. But yeah, he
Right.
looked energized. So just note him moving forward, or if you have a really
Mhm.
deep roster, deep bench, and you want to hold on to him, that's one I would look at. But no, otherwise, I think this team looks like we thought it'd look.
Mhm. Yeah, Gibbons is a tough one. The deepest of leagues he's probably already owned. So don't. And if you're in a more shallow league, I probably would not recommend grabbing him. Stick it out with Shair. We could be in a Logan Wilson, kind of a slow start situation here, but you can't ignore those snaps. Sometimes it just doesn't break for the guys that are on the field all the time. So, but when you're, over the course of the season, you want to bet on those guys that are on the field there. Monty Rice played only on special teams, so it is Jack Gibbons as the clear number two. Let's make that very clear. It's just it's tough to rely on a guy like that. The Harold Landry played 88% of snaps, but only gave us one solo and one QB hit. So
Mhm.
he's rushing the passer. He just didn't get home. Kind of disappointed that the tackle volume wasn't up there playing that much of snaps. He's kind of one of these tweener guys that should sometimes give us tackles. So it's kind of disappointing to see his stat line. He is you could cut him. I think you could cut him if you want. He's pretty much he's kind of entering that Trey Hendrickson sack or bust territory for me.
Yeah,
Coming off the injury, now maybe he gets hot second half of the year, but yeah, so we have to just monitor Hooker's health. But it looks like he's the big play guy. The tackles were fine, 5 tackles, but he used tackle for loss, fumble recovery, forced fumble, interception, 2 pass defended. You're gonna get that. He's one of these few guys that you could almost say you can count on the big splash plays
oh
because he
sure.
is just a ball hawk. He's always been that. He's just battled health issues for his entire career, basically, and can't stay on the field, which is why he's such a value this year. Everyone forgets about him. But he is one of those special ball hawk guys that if he's playing, he's going to give you something outside the tackle category. So, any last regards on the Titans?
I don't think so.
Okie dokie. So, oops.
To the
Um,
Saints.
Saints came marching in. Big win, big debut from Derek Carr. Like I said, it was a field goal fest there for most of the game, but yeah, if they can, the Saints can start converting some of those drives to touchdowns. This could be a very nice fantasy season for a lot of offensive players in New Orleans.
Oh,
But
for
how
sure.
about how about the defense? We surprisingly, Marshawn Lattimore, kind of normally one of those island shutdown type corners that doesn't
Yeah.
always produce for fantasy, was our top IDP scorer in the IDP invitational format.
Yeah,
So
obviously love to see it. Love the
mhm,
snap percentage. Love all those pass defended. Again, and the interception make cornerbacks relevant again. Uh,
that's
I
right.
would not expect this kind of performance from him for
Of
all the
course
reasons
not.
you just said, but he gets he plays enough. Oh, oh, sorry, we got a good game going on right now. We
Oh
got it.
man, what?
Oh, we got a
Talent,
good
let's go. What do we got? I don't have it on, so help me out. I'm dying to know.
13-13. Zach Wilson
Wow.
just had an awesome pass to Garrett Wilson for the tie, and then Josh Allen just fumbled his first carry.
Oh,
4.5 minutes left, and now there's a big old brawl happening.
oh,
Uh,
interesting.
so okay, fun. Okay.
Damn.
Back to the Saints. The main takeaways for me, yeah, Pete Warner, Demario Davis, the 100% bros at linebacker. That's kind of
Yeah.
as expected. People
Yep.
want Warner to, to kind of take that step to be the guy over Demario Davis, but for
Mhm.
whatever reason, Demario Davis just won't die, right? He keeps being that
Mhm.
guy. So I think you can trust both out there. There's no other real linebackers on the radar to have to worry about there. Yeah, and then the defensive ends, Carl Granderson, Cameron Jordan continue to do it. They get the snap percentages there that you expect to have a pretty
Mhm.
stable floor, and they definitely made their splash plays happen. So
Mhm.
uh, yeah, and then look at Brian Breesy with half a sack. That's
Thank you.
fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's fun. Didn't do much of anything else. One
Oh,
assisted tackle, otherwise 2 QB hits, which is obviously nice. So can't quite trust him yet, but it's definitely a promising start. But no, I think much like some of these other teams, that we didn't have many questions about the Saints defense, about who is going to play how much and
yeah.
where. And it's just nice to see that actually transpire.
I mean, that's what Breesy is, though. He's a pass rushing defensive tackle, so it's good to see him already getting after the quarterback and getting there in his very first game. Yes, Carl Granderson has absolutely won the opposite to Cam Jordan role. Peyton Turner, I left him on there because he barely played on defense or special teams, so don't know what's going on there. Seems like maybe first round bust territory. Warner, I was kind of a Warner fader. When you looked at his games last year, he wasn't giving you anything besides tackles. He was giving you no tackles for loss, no pass deflections, no sacks. That's not his role. That's not his game. So like you said, Demario Davis won't die, and he's the pass rusher of the two. So
Right.
ceiling is still higher for Demario Davis. Yeah, P. Warner, I know people love him, but I'm probably lower than most on Werner
Well,
and
I think I
have been
think
in
he's
all
just
formats.
Yeah, I think what we're seeing happen live is him become the Logan Wilson of the Saints defense, right? It's
Yeah,
like, yeah, he's gonna show up. I mean, 8 combined tackles is no joke. He has a nice half a
right.
sack here, which is nice. Hopefully that can become a regular thing. So I
Yeah,
think it's one of those things where we just have to, or maybe like the Fred Warners of the world. We're like,
yeah,
okay, yeah, he's
yeah.
never gonna be that top 10 guy, but he's gonna be your classic LB 15 to
Hmm.
25. And 50 might be strong, but like he'll just be a solid LB 2-3, and that's just all
Yeah,
he's gonna be.
the ceiling is just rough. That's all. All right. Next game, the Packers.
Packers,
Packers
Bears.
and Bears. Oh boy. So I nailed my Packers +1 or money line. So that was sweet. But I also was really strong on the under. And boy, oops. I guess Jordan Love is a thing. I was fading Jordan Love. The Bears offense still stinks. Not really. I was right on that front. I expected that. I just didn't expect the Packers to wallop as much as they did. Quay Walker season. It was here. He got busted up. Yes, it was Quay Walker season because of a interception return for a touchdown. I don't care. I'm going to be biased. I'm going to hype up my guy. Yeah, he didn't get the tackles like he should have. Again, he got injured later in the game. So, do we know how bad that is? By the way, I'll look. Thank you. You're the lookup guy. But Devondre Campbell also didn't have a great game. He only played 74% of snaps. I'm really interested. I can't wait to hear people who actually were able to sit down and fully watch and review that game as to why that was the case. Were we playing more safeties? I mean, I know Darnell Savage actually had a good game for once in his career. With 10 tackles. So was he just benefiting from Walker being out? And Campbell, I'm trying to find the next linebacker. Isaiah McDuffie was getting some play, 26% snaps, which is kind of interesting. But again, because Walker went down. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
Walker is in the concussion protocol.
yeah,
So,
maybe 1 week.
we don't know. Yeah, you never know
Yeah,
how serious it is.
right.
So it still
Great.
can be a Quay Walker season. Obviously, hold on to him.
Yeah,
Really, you expect Campbell to be the benefactor. Like he only played 74% of
yeah.
snaps. We expect him to play more, right? But I wouldn't go jumping out at any of those other linebackers on that roster because we just don't know
Mhm.
who it's going to be, and it'd be kind of a fool's errand to try.
Yeah.
to try to figure that out. But otherwise, no, the Packers, like Lucas Finesse had a nice sack, only played
Mhm,
47% of the defensive snaps. So don't love that, especially the up and downs
mhm,
of a rookie pass rusher. Nice. It's obviously nice that he got that sack, but I would not go out going after him. Very similar for Devontae Wyatt, defensive
mhm.
tackle. I mean, obviously the sack and a half is really slick, but again,
Yeah.
41% of defensive snaps. That's just not enough for that to be sustainable. And yeah, and Rasul Douglas, I've often harped on him because never really was able to consistently
Mm,
produce. But this game was great, right? 100% of the
yeah.
snaps, 8 combined tackles. Like I think he puts himself in that category for going against a team that figures to be a little
Mhm,
pass heavy. He can put himself on the streaming radar. Um,
mhm,
and yeah, I guess the only other thing that I had here was Jonathan Owens played a very big role for the Texans last year. Obviously, the Texans defense is bad,
mhm.
right? But when they
Yeah.
signed him here, I was kind of projecting a similar role because I thought he was going to be good, but only played
Yeah.
19% of defensive snaps. You can drop him if you drafted him, hoping that he'd get that same usage, unless there's a safety or a unless there's an injury. I don't see him seeing the field enough to warrant starting.
Yeah, Rudy Ford is the guy there, but he's free safety, so the stats are going to be hard to come by. It's funny, Owens actually outscored him technically in these settings, but yeah, it's not going to be good all year. I like Devontae Wyatt. Let's not forget he was a first round pick last year, so
That's true.
this might be the unleashing. They had Jaron Reed last year. They're always rotating that defensive line. So Kenny Clark, who is a perennial Pro Bowler stud, only played 51% of the snaps. So I think Wyatt is very talented, and if you're DT required, I would absolutely go pick him up. Now, yes, he's not going to get a sack and a half every game, but that ceiling now we know exists. That is his skill set as a defensive tackle, where Kenny Clark has always been kind of just the run eating up tackle guy. So
And the
Clark is your
Packers and the
floor. Yeah.
Packers play the Falcons next week, and we know the Falcons
Oh,
run just a veritable crap ton. So actually, yeah, I might take that back. That might be a good streaming
yeah.
candidate there.
Yeah, we just saw Derek Brown be the top IDP um,
Yeah,
for the
feast.
Panthers. So Preston Smith had a solid game. He's always going to give you that. I think the guy. So if Walker's out and you are looking for a deep replacement, it looks like it's Isaiah McDuffie, but I probably wouldn't waste too much energy on that. The big frustrating thing here was Rashawn Gary. Only played 16% of snaps, 12
He
in
he was
total,
on a pitch
zero
count.
burger. Okay, he was
He
officially
was
on a
on a
pitch count.
12
Okay.
snap pitch count, and I believe he looked pretty decent in those 12 snaps. So wait until he's fully back. Yeah, that's not a he was bad sort of thing. It's just a he was purely easing
Right,
him
he
back
just
in.
didn't play. Yeah, I
Right.
wasn't trying to insinuate he's bad or anything, but yeah, it was frustrating to see that he didn't play. Yeah, in fact, he was the second highest PFF grade on his only
Yeah, he looked
12
good.
snaps.
So that
So
is worth
um,
noting though, because in some
yeah,
redraft leagues, he's going to be going sitting there on the waiver wire, and once he's fully back, like I think we can expect some good things. Because lest we forget, he was good.
yeah, 50% pressure rate, five hurries on his 10 pass rush snaps. So he'll be back. Yeah, just be patient and yeah, great for best ball because hopefully you had someone else pick up the slack there. But if you have to make the decision whether to start him in a league, you're probably holding off until we see. Now, unfortunately, that means you're probably going to miss the first good week he has, but that's just kind of how you have to roll with him coming off the injury there.
That's how we
So,
do it.
yepper. All right, that's Green Bay.
Da
Now we
Bears,
go to the Bears.
da Bears.
I think nothing too crazy there. Um,
No, I think I think for me, yeah, the linebackers kind of went just as we sort of expected it. Like those
yeah.
are the Bears have a defensive scheme where two linebackers are very relevant.
Mhm.
And hey, would you look at that? The two leading scorers for the Bears were TJ Edwards and Tremaine Edmonds. So love that.
Yeah.
Yannick Ngakoue was a secretly nice signing by the Bears for no other reason than they don't really have anyone else on the defensive line that you trust.
Right.
So the fact that he played 68% of snaps and got that sack, like again, you don't have to be good player in IDP to put up fantasy points. And Yannick Ngakoue is going to get plenty of opportunities to put those things up. So I like that. And then look at those safeties. Like Jaquan Brisker had I'll say quiet day, which was 7 combined tackles in the past end, so like that's the kind of floor you want for those elite guys, especially trying to make that second year jump. Then I would expect more from Eddie Jackson too. But again, he's going to get his with that snap percentage. Truly, the Bears are just a fantasy gold mine for those few players if you sort of have them. So
the studs.
Not sure what else to really learn.
Yeah, of course, the defensive line stinks. The only guy you might, in super, super deep leagues, DeMarcus Walker had a QB hit, so that's his role. He's a pass rusher, played at 78% snaps, so he'll probably end up with somewhere between 5 and 7 sacks on the season. More of a best ball guy, but if you need a Hail Mary at times, he's one. Interesting that the rookie second round corner played 100% of snaps. So he had a really nice game. Was very busy. So there's one of our rules about rookie corners. Now, of course, it doesn't apply to all. We talked about Forbes earlier. Didn't quite have the snaps or production. But man, if Tyreek Stevenson is going to be out there for 100% snaps, that's a nice going to be a nice guy in corner required league. So
that is noteworthy, especially with pretty good players around him too. So and I feel like I'd be remiss, like one last time. Special Agent Jack Sanborn, only 32%. IDP darling, won some leagues for people last year. He's irrelevant. Get rid of him. If you were auto drafted him because you missed a pick, get rid of him. He's not.
You can't get rid of him, but it was nice to see that he was at least getting on the field after the injury. So he's got a special place in our hearts, but unfortunately not on our rosters for this year.
Exactly.
All righty. We will flick.
I think we're getting close to our game.
Yeah, we are. First, though, we're going to take a pit stop with the Raiders and the Broncos.
Oh, good.
There he is, Nate Hobbs. We've called it all year long. Everyone who's worth a damn in IDP called that Nate Hobbs is going to be a great IDP option. So but it does feel good.
It feels good. If you aren't on him, you can start him in all formats, DB or especially in CB required leagues. He might be one in more shallow leagues that you can go get right now because his ADP did not catch up to all of the fantasy analysts hyping him up. He's freaking great. Go get him.
We're used to playing with all the guys that do IDP content, so Nate Hobbs was drafted at an appropriate level. But for a lot of you out there that maybe aren't playing with as sharp of players, go grab Nate Hobbs and start him weekly with confidence while he's healthy. This other guy below him, the second score I've never heard of, so maybe don't grab him. Although he played 100% snaps, Jacorian Bennett. I thought it was going to be also Marcus Peters played. So we had two corners play 100%, and Nate Hobbs played 94%. He is the slot guy, so he wasn't on the field every play. But that's really interesting to me that we had 3 corners playing that much.
You wonder if that scheme. I believe the Broncos did not get much of a run game going, so they were airing it out with Russell Wilson. But that's a lot of cornerbacks out there.
Robert Spillane edged out Diablo and snaps, but Diablo had the better stat line. That's kind of what we expect going forward to maintain that as long as both stay healthy. Trevon Merrick, the safety, actually outscored Marcus Epps,
which is surprising. I believe he got hurt.
Okay.
Morig. I believe Morig got hurt.
Yeah, I think that's right. So you probably weren't counting on him much anyway. I know I have him in like a ridiculous 53-man salary cap league. So but I didn't start him either. So Tyree Wilson did play 50%, but gave us pretty much nothing outside of an assistant tackle. The other rookie I left on there, Byron Young, the defensive tackle, did play. He at least played, but he gave us no stats. So 31% of the snaps. So you're not, you don't want much on that defensive line outside of Crosby. unfortunately. And then everyone else kind of chipped in as normal. So Marcus App's a little bit of a disappointing stat line for 100% snaps, but he, that's what kind of he is. He's never going to give you like a monster game on any sort of consistent level. So moving on to Denver. Okay by you?
Let's do it.
Alrighty. So Denver, I don't think we had too much crazy. We did have, unfortunately, an injury again to Caden Stearns. So the old man, Kareem Jackson, stays alive and is atop the IDP scoring in this game. Disappointing games, I think, from what we're used to from Singleton and Jewell. But, that's what, remember we had someone kind of picking on us. We didn't have Jewell and Singleton in our top tiers. And I mean, this is why you can't just take last year's stats and input them again. I was optimistic actually in this game that they would do well because I figured a healthy dose of Josh Jacobs, and we only got 4 and 4 solos and assists out of Singleton, and only 1 solo, 5 assists out of Jewell with nothing else. Singleton at least chipped in with a defended pass and a QB hit, but Jewell gave us nothing outside of the tackles. So this was another game where defensive backs pretty much reigned supreme. The corners, Mathis and Surtain both did well. My guy Zach Allen, 90% snaps. I love seeing that. So I'm still going to be incredibly high on Zach Allen all year long, especially if you do have him as DT eligible. Didn't get home on a sack, but did have a QB hit. Decent enough tackle for 5 altogether for a defensive tackle. So the rest of these guys are a mess. Randy Gregory did nothing on 68% of snaps. The edge rushers kind of stink. Like I said, Caden Stearns is probably out for the year again. So Kareem Jackson will be relevant. Drew Sanders did not play a snap, was only a special teamer. That kind of stinks. But those third round rookies, DJ Keltown says us to fade him, and he's right yet again on Drew Sanders. So he's only really a stash. So anything you got?
No, I think you nailed it. I'm not saying like the Josie Jewells and Alex Singletons won't have their big weeks, but that's sort of why we didn't have them in those top 20. Like you can't just expect the same sort of usage, and there are other people have, little safer plays. So a little bit of vindication. That's like the 1 week one thing. That's like, haha, we were right, which means next week we're going to be completely wrong.
Yeah, they'll go off.
They're going to go up, which is fine, but we'll take our wins when we can get it.
Nothing too crazy to take away from Denver there. Justin Simmons, 100% snaps, remains a frustrating defensive back to own.
100%.
Used to be in that elite tier, but man, these past couple of years, he's been really frustrating. So, all right, one more game, and then we've made it to ours. So another quick pit stop. We've got Rams and Seahawks. Another surprising week 1, at least to me, surprising outcome. I thought. I picked up the Seattle defense everywhere. I thought this was going to be just a thrashing by the Seahawks of the Rams, and it was the complete opposite. Although my Geno Smith takes, I feel kind of vindicated about because he stinks, and we all knew he stinks. So all you Geno Smith lovers can pound sand.
Yeah.
All right, give me what you got on the Rams.
Yeah, I mean, Ernest Jones lived up to what we were hyping him up to be, right? 100% of snaps. You'll love to see it. So keep playing him with confidence as a potentially top 10 play each week. You'll feel confident there. Aaron Donald continues to wreak havoc. Like if you have him, you should play him. Kind of was falling down draft boards because people thought the defense would be bad and, that he's getting older. But yeah, he's still 82% of snaps, half a sack, 4 combined tackles. That's awesome. You love to see that. Yeah, and then the defensive backs, Jordan Fuller continues to be really good. You love to see that. And yeah, I don't know. This is another one of those teams where there's not a whole lot of players here that we're looking at, which means it's good. Like they might be better than we thought they were, if that makes any sense. Like Michael Hocht was a guy that came up on the start sit show. No one really picked him, but I didn't foresee 92% of defensive snaps for that guy. Granted, 3 combined tackles and half a sack isn't necessarily what you want to see from that, but like that's a lot of freaking snap. That's a lot of
Yeah,
snaps for anyone, and you're seeing a lot of these players in that 70 to 80% of the defensive snaps here. So my big takeaway, I still don't really trust anyone other than like the Jordan Furler, the Ernest Jones, the Aaron
right.
Donalds of the world. But I think by the end of a couple more weeks from now, we might be thinking a little differently about this Rams defense.
Yeah, the other safety job definitely belongs to Russ Yeast, 100%. John Johnson only played special teams. Now, could that be them? They just signed him late in the year. I'm still not 100% sold that stays the case all year long. But it appears as of after this week, it is Rusty's job. So, you could probably drop John Johnson if you had taken shots on him, but I wouldn't maybe replace him 1-to-1 with a Russ Yeast because he gave us hardly anything on 100% stats. The only other main guy I want to call out would be the rookie Byron Young, sort of a linebacker edge type guy. Gave us 3 solos, 1 assist, 2 QB hits, and a half sack. So he got home in his first game, split the sack. Christian Roseboom appears to be the linebacker too, but with Byron Young kind of being a tweener guy at 84%, Roseboom played 67. Like you said, these guys are you're not going to want to count on them as starters, but in deeper league stashes if injuries occur and whatnot. Ernest Jones, I wish I get 3 TFLs was really good. I guess that all those assists kind of
Yeah.
dampen his day a little bit. I was expecting a little more out of Ernest Jones against the Seahawks there. So, but yeah, nothing else for me. So we will flip to Seahawks. Man, oh man.
50-yard field goal to tie it as time expires for the Bills off the crossbar. And it
You're
goes
joking.
through. It goes
You're
through.
kidding. Tyler Bass, let's go.
16-0, baby.
He's my Scott Fishbowl
Wow.
kicker.
Wow.
I'll take it.
Okay. Looks like we might be
Damn.
getting
You
some
said, yeah, I was
yeet.
gonna say, okay, you said that was to tie it. Awesome.
Yeah,
Holy smokes, hitting the
that's a tie.
crossbar. That's crazy. All right. For Seattle, Bobby Wagner is back. We both felt pretty strongly about him all year. 19 total tackles, 9 solos, 10 assists, and 1
Unreal.
tackle for loss. Jordan Brooks played 64% snaps and was cleaning up tackles as well. So it looks like wheels up for Jordan Brooks. I mean, that
Sir.
snap count is only going to go up. Julian Love played 100% of snaps and gave us a very solid game. So that was interesting that Quandre Diggs, who also played 100% of snaps, but it seems like Diggs is back to center field. Obviously, when Jamal Adams, if he ever gets healthy, is going to throw a wrench into those things. But for now, it looks like Julian Love is the guy. Pass rushers, nobody got home, 0 sacks on old Matt Stafford. So that was probably pretty disappointing for a lot of people. Yeah, anything else you got?
Yeah, no, I think that you nailed the main storylines there, right? Like that defensive backfield too is pretty stable. We expected quite a bit more from the cornerbacks last year. Obviously, Kobe Bryant
Yeah.
was the main benefactor this year, but Reek Woolen didn't really live up to what he was putting down last year. But matchup dependent stuff. I think I'd still, if you have them, feel fairly confident. Who are the Seahawks playing next week? Let me see really quick.
And yeah, the
They're playing.
reason
They're playing the Lions, who should
okay.
figure to have spread the ball around quite a bit. So I still think you can start them with confidence.
Yeah, Kobe Bryant, Puka Nakua for the Rams kind of came out of nowhere. So Bryant was on him all day. So that's why he was so busy.
Yeah,
Of course, that's going to be different every week. I mean, if he's taking the slot guy, though, he could be pretty busy again with Amon-Ra. So maybe Bryant is the guy to own this year with Reek kind of being that outside, more of a shutdown type guy. So
for sure.
an interesting rookie to keep your eye on if you're super deep. Mike Morris, the defensive tackle, played 32% of snaps. Gave us 2 solos and an assist. Nothing crazy, but again, for those defensive tackle required leagues, you never know who could hit. Draymond Jones, of course, played 68% of snaps, but did only give us 2 assisted tackles. I love Michael Jackson on here because he's no longer a thing. we did not see. We did not. Did I miss? Did Devin Witherspoon? He was out, right?
I think he was out.
Yeah. Okay. Good. I was like, wait a second. Where did he go?
Yeah, inactive.
Yeah, that's why Artie Burns was playing. Okay. Trey Brown at 75% of snaps. Those will probably belong to Witherspoon when he's healthy. So.
100%.
All right. And I think we've made it. Oh no, sorry, not yet. Dolphins. We keep teasing that we're
Yeah, keep
for our
listening,
game.
people.
So first we got. I mean, this was the game of the week by far. The shootout between the Dolphins and the Chargers. So we've got a bunch of IDP production for the Dolphins. You're going to see the Chargers not so much. So that's interesting how that worked out. You see, the Dolphins played 81 defensive snaps in total. Javon Holm playing all of them. It looks like he is easily the safety to own. The other big thing that I'll just touch on quickly, David Long, 21% of snaps. Yikes, he's droppable. That's a shame. I don't really get it, but Jerome Baker somehow played 100% snaps and gave us his crappy Jerome Baker line of 6 tackles and nothing else. So I'm kind of surprised. I don't know what's going on there. Maybe Long's battling injury still. Yeah, Jalen Phillips, the breakout is here, sort of. 11 combined tackles, so he was super busy. 2 QB hits, got home for half a sack. I love that. I think that's very encouraging. I don't know if you want to touch on anyone else.
No, I think looking at these stats again, the players. This is a very, very, very good defense, right?
Yeah.
And then with Jalen Phillips being the menace that he was, that kind of unlocks a bunch of things for everyone else, right? So like the fact that Holland and Deshaun Elliott had big old games, not overly surprised. Cater Kohu also had a huge game with a sack and 9 combined tackles. Yeah, I think the biggest story, but we were expecting big things from those players, right? I think the big thing for what you were saying was right with how much Baker was used, or rather not used.
Yeah.
So freaking Van Ginkel of all people. So something to monitor long term. Sort of see where things go. And Christian Wilkins also had a bit of an off day for the DT. Granted, the Chargers air raid offense, not a whole lot of opportunities to get those tackles that you'd expect from him. So I think that's more matchup dependent. But no, these Dolphins teams are good, and I think there's gonna be a lot of IDP value here.
Yeah. Sealer, my guy Sealer had a solid game for this defensive tackle. I took him. I know I have him in either the Invitational or the Masters. I can't remember which one. But yeah, he's probably gonna be a solid guy playing next to Wilkins all year long. He had a solid year last year. No reason to think that he won't continue that. Chubb at 88% of snaps, so would like to see him get home. You probably will sooner than later. Brandon Jones, only 2%, 58% on special teams. So that was
what
disappointing. I think maybe they're just bringing him along slowly, hopefully. But yeah, it looks like Deshaun Elliott is worth a pickup for sure if he is unknown. So that's probably the hottest name to pick up. Jane Tyndall, of course, didn't see the field, only on special teams. So that is the Dolphins. A really, I think, disappointing
huge
game for the Chargers IDPs. So the top player was not. It was a safety. Now, when you say the top IDP safety for the Chargers, you think that was Derwin James. In our scoring format, it was Alohi Gilman, who was on our radar. He was going to be the starter, but projected to be more of that free safety. But he played 100% of snaps, had 11 combined tackles. I mean, didn't give you anything else, but that's a solid game right there. 9 solos. I mean, if you have scoring differentials between solos, that's a really, really nice game. The linebackers didn't stunk. Kendricks, it was okay, but didn't. A lot of people were hyping him up. And yeah, he played 100% of snaps, but I guess that kind of makes sense against the passing volume of the Dolphins. But really disappointing. You see, even with all that passing volume, I mean, Michael Davis was the top corner, and Derwin had a fine game. 2 passes defended to go along with his 6 solos and a tackle for loss. So, what are you thinking about the Chargers here?
Yeah, I mean, I think just like you said, Derwin James is kind of the big guy here, right?
Hmm.
I mean, the 17 points, if that's his floor, like jeepers, like he's still king. We
Right.
trust him. Just everyone else just had off days that we'd expect to
Hmm.
have better days. Like Joey Bosa playing 87% of snaps, but not really showing up at all. Like that's
Hmm.
disappointing. The linebackers got the percentage snaps you'd want to be relevant.
Hmm.
Not much tackling was happening there. So I think this is one where you kind of be patient. Uh, I mean, Khalil Mack even played a whole bunch.
Yeah.
Defensive touch. Nope, not defensive touchdown. Special teams touchdown for the win for the Jets. Walk off.
Oh.
Yep. The kid
Whoa.
Gibson, the undrafted
Xavier
wide
Gibson.
receiver, the
Wow.
stud from Hard Knocks, walk off touchdown.
Wow.
Wait, was that a I that might I saw Zach Wilson go run in there, so I wonder if that was a throw or a kick return. I'll let you know, but
Oh
wow.
my.
And with that, the nail in the
Damn.
coffin, that is a 4-13 betting night or week for Steve. Uh,
Oopsies.
and I went 8-8. So,
Damn.
there you go. There you
Oh,
have it. Uh Anyway, yeah, not
that
a whole lot
does
more to say
surprise
about
me.
the Chargers, I think. Really just gotta, stay the
Yeah.
course with those stars and kinda go from there.
The Bosa Matt combo is super disappointing. You kind of are forced to roll with them, but remember, these guys, they're getting older. Eric Hendricks is old. Like, this is a pretty old defense. JC Jackson is healthy, but stunk, was giving up all those big plays. So, who knows if he lost his job. Guy I left in at the bottom there, my guy, Morgan Fox, zero burger, but played 51% of the snaps. He was actually the second highest PFF graded player on the Chargers in this week. So I would say, in again super deep DT required leagues, maybe stick with him. He's getting the snaps. He just wasn't able to chip in the box score this week. So yeah, Chargers stink is the overall thing there. At least Chargers defense stinks.
Mhm. For now.
All right, we've
Now
made
it's
it to the
time.
Um, Philly Patriots game. So we'll start with the birds. Um, Slay, had the big return touchdown. Reed Blankenship showing up as the second highest IDP score at 98% of snaps. Oh, I have to touch on this. The shocker. You see there a few spots down. Justin Evans playing
Yeah.
96% of snaps, and Terrell Edmonds. He didn't even make it on. Oh, he did. Only 12%, and he was mostly a special teamer at 69 special team staff. So trade in your Terrell Edmonds for either Reed Blankenship or Justin Evans. That's kind of crazy. They paid Terrell Edmonds a lot of money, I think. So also Sidney Brown didn't see the
Mhm.
field. He was only special team. So yeah, again, we see this all the time. There's all the rookie hype, and these coaches just play the vets. They just don't trust the rookies until they're forced to. Especially rookies that don't. A third round draft capital, I guess, is pretty good for a safety, but like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to say about that, really. Um, yeah, so N'Kobe Dean goes down. Do you have any information on how bad or what N'Kobe Dean? Because we saw,
It's
so Rashawn Evans was brought in.
Mhm.
So I don't know if that's how bad N'Kobe Dean is injured, or they weren't happy with Zach Cunningham's play. He
Yeah,
had a
they're
very,
saying multiple weeks. I was
yeah,
seeing some predictions of, like, a month, which is
that
obviously
sucks.
mighty unfortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah, you expect Cunningham to be the main benefactor of that, but, yeah, it really sucks because Dean looked explosive in the preseason. This was his time to
Hmm.
really step up, and he looked pretty decent. I mean, the 7
Yeah.
combined tackles on 61%, and that wasn't
Hmm.
because he was sitting out. That's how far he made it into the game before he got hurt, right?
Hmm.
So, he looked pretty good. Yeah, I wouldn't go out necessarily and trust Rashawn Evans right off the bat. Like, that might just be more of a
Hmm.
depth play. Um, we'll wait and see, right? Obviously, but I think Cunningham sees an uptick.
Yeah, Cunningham 88% of the snaps. So yeah, I think you're right. I think Rashaan Evans absolutely needs to be picked up. Almost everywhere. I think this is what happens with this kind of stuff. Like he waited for a situation like this, and I mean, I don't know that Zach Cunningham is any better than Rashaan Evans at this point in their careers. Linebackers, kind of like running backs, you just kind of plug into the system and shouldn't be too hard to pick up. So, yeah, I think you pick up Rashaan Evans. I don't think you start him, but I think you absolutely need to pick him up. Jordan Davis with a surprising game at defensive tackle. Very very nice. Got half a sack. That's usually Jalen Carter, what we were expecting, but Jalen Carter got a full sack on his own. So really exciting. Still there on the defensive line. Josh Sweat doing his thing with chipping in with a half a sack. So yeah, obviously Darius Slay. If you're playing Yahoo and have to play corners, do not run out and grab Darius Slay. That is fool's gold. He is a shutdown guy, and yes, he's going to have a 30-point game, and then he's going to have a 2-point game, and then another 2-point game, and a 4-point game, and maybe a 20-point game, but you'll never predict when. So, yeah, and Christian Ellis, maybe, but he was played more on special teams. Maybe he gets more of a shot, but Hassan Reddick with an incredibly disappointing game gave you nothing except an assisted tackle and a QB hit. So I left him on there, and feels like the snap count was kind of low too, only 72%. In such a close game, you would have thought he would have had more of an impact there. Left Nolan Smith on there just to show that he's not really breaching the starting lineup yet. So more of a special teamer. So yeah, the safeties is a big story there, and the linebacker really stinks. Nakobe Dean, had a lot of opportunity to smash. So I hope he returns sooner than later and healthy. So anything else?
Nope. Let's move on to the pass.
Okay. All righty. And here we go. So, oh man, a lot of people were. I think I saw some sits for Christian Gonzalez, and I was kind of cocked my head at that. I was like, I don't agree with that.
Christian Gonzalez has been my guy. What I've been saying this entire offseason, he gets 100% of the snaps. He's played some of the slot. Like, he gives up passes. Unfortunately, he's not the lockdown receiver we want him to be yet from a Patriots fan perspective, but from an IDP perspective, that's great news. That's a freaking gold mine. Like, I'm looking at that 7 combined tackles, sack for loss, pass defended. He got a sack, which was fun to see him being utilized in that manner. The Patriots are about to go up against the Dolphins, who throw a crap ton on Sunday night. So when you're talking like streaming candidates, like I cannot be higher on Christian Gonzalez. He plays, especially when people are gonna be throwing on him. Like, he's gonna have a great time. But yeah, so really everyone else sort of did as expected. So I've been hammering the Jawan Bentley as just a solid LB2. Like, he doesn't really get splash plays, but 9 combined tackles and tackle for loss, that is perfectly reasonable to be starting in your LB2, LB3 slot there. Matt Judon continues to crush it in September. Got another sack, 3 combined tackles. I know you see that Uche got a sack. It was not really a sack. Like, he kind of just ran Jalen Hurts out of bounds, and he like apparently didn't get back to line of scrimmage, even though I think he did. So like the 36% of snaps there. People wanted Uche to have a big breakout season this year, and he still might. But I mean, look at Keon White's snap percentage. 35%, not much, but he exploded off the screen actually watching. Like, he was all over the place. So I think there's gonna be more of a rotation than us IDP folks want it to be. So I'm kind of fading Uche now until something drastically changed there. Yeah, I mean, other notes, I think people generally played as much as we thought they'd play. Like, Jabril Peppers is the benefactor of Devin McCourty retiring. The 88%, like, you thought maybe Adrian Phillips was going to take some of that. Nope, he played 22 or 26%. Duggar had an off day, but again, 5 combined tackles is a pretty decent floor for a safety. So obviously
Yeah,
not the top 10 sort of safety stuff production you wanted, but I still think you plug him in there. He's kind of the linebacker for this defense. And by that, like he's heart and soul of that defense. So you got to keep him in there. Um,
absolutely.
and then, yeah, the darling Marte Mapu, only played 14% of snaps on defense. So temper expectations there. I think the fact that he was even playing in this first game against an Eagles team of that caliber just shows you how much the Patriots do like him, but
Mhm.
also should tell you that you should, you know, hold your horses
Yeah.
on him, at least in the redraft format. Uh,
Yes.
so yeah, I think in general, the Patriots defense performance we want to. Main takeaway is Christian Gonzalez is the real freaking deal. So go get him.
I was gonna say, look at Belichick trusting the rookies. I mean, even White, that's solid for 35% for a rookie for Belichick. I feel like on the defensive line,
Hmm.
it is still not Christian Barmore season. 56, fine, but did his usual non contributing stat line for defensive tackle required leagues. Marcus Jones, a big takeaway. That kind of sucks. He's down to 36%, played 31% special teams. So I don't know what's going on there, but yeah, it feels like he's going to need injury again to really uh, make him worthy. I think he's droppable,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
Sucks to say that because he was such a lightning rod last year when he got a chance to play. Now, if we see guys get injured, that might change. If Miles Bryant, goes down, it might be Marcus Jones' season again. But yeah, it's just tough to trust right now. So I don't think you can keep him right now in redraft leagues. Even dynasty. I mean, you shouldn't really be too attached to corners in dynasty leagues anyway. But
100%.
a lot of people were because he was playing offense and stuff. But they're healthy right now for the most part. So yeah, sorry, Mark Jones looks like a miss this year, unfortunately. So yeah. I don't got much else. Hope to see Uchi snaps go up. I'm an Uchi guy.
Oh,
So
I am too,
yeah,
but I mean, again, Keon White explodes, and I like that healthy
yeah.
rotation there. So
Yeah. All righty. All right. We made it to the last game. Good old this game was what
yeah,
the heck happened in this game? The Cowboys and the Giants. Holy smokes. I was all in on Dable and he figured out Daniel Jones and apparently Daniel Jones just stinks. So we could start with Dallas, and I'm gonna try to not take a ton of time because there's not much to take away because of how
well,
goofy
this
this
was
game was,
just a
right?
freaking rout. Like
Yeah,
this defense, like maybe it is that good. Like maybe they just
yeah,
like we expect it to be one of the better, defensive lines, but they were just all up in Daniel Jones's business the entire day.
hmm,
Like it's hard to take too much away from this, other than yeah, this defensive line is really good, and you never know
hmm,
who is going to necessarily wind up with the sack, right? But
hmm.
like you love Micah Parsons getting that sack, obviously.
Yeah. Thank
Um,
God he got it early enough before they
yeah,
took him out.
like Dorrance Armstrong has always been a sneaky good best ball, especially like you'll see only
Yeah.
26% of defensive snaps. That's not a whole lot, but he ended up with his two
Two
sacks.
sec-
But like so in redraft though, like don't worry about him. Like
Yeah,
he's not worth
you
it.
can't.
Osa Adigazua, also in kind of garbage time, feast on those two
Uh-huh.
sacks. Again, I really like him as a player. Like he's a good piece in real NFL terms, but the 39%, like only in like really deep DT required leagues is he even worth of looking into. Um,
Right.
who else got sacked? Like, pretty much everyone did. Demarcus Lawrence
Ah,
only played
yeah.
43%. Like these percentage of snaps are actually surprisingly low. Like Micah Parsons only played 57%.
Well,
Granted,
yeah, because
it
they
was a
kicked.
route. It was a
Yeah,
route.
they
You're
kicked
right.
the
You're right.
shit out of us. That's why I say we can't. There's not much to take away because it's so goofy that
Fair.
there's just nothing. I mean, Dortz Armstrong could be good, but they were giving other younger guys a shot. Mazzie Smith, the rookie, played 24%. Guys I've never heard of played percentages of snap. I was upset to see. So Sam Williams was a guy who I've liked a lot. He ended up at 49%. He's probably not going to play more than that very frequently. And in this route, he gave us nothing but 2 assisted tackles. So I was kind of disappointed to see that he didn't get home. I think he was kind of picked up an injury going into the season, but yeah, it does look like Damon Clark is officially the LB2. I don't know how much we care about that though, because they don't produce in the system. The safeties played, but of course they didn't give you much stats uh, because of what was going on there. The 2 corners and Bland and Gilmore were your top scorers. I guess there's one name to take a peek at while so Donovan Wilson was out injured, and it looks like Marquise Bell sort of took over his role, or at least a role in the safety trio rotation that Dallas loves to deploy. So yeah, I guess he's a name to just keep on your radar. Probably not picking him up quite yet, but he did manage 44% of snaps and was really efficient with his stat lines: 8 total tackles, a tackle for loss, a forced fumble. So just a name, Marquise Bell, to keep in mind if Wilson continues to miss extended time. But beyond that, stick with their studs. The Dallas defensive line is going to do this anyway. It's going to be a different guy every week. It's going to be Dorrance on the show. It just happened to be all of them this week because of how bad the game was. But outside of Parsons and probably Lawrence, it's going to be a different one every week, and you're never going to pick. So I wouldn't spend time on anyone outside of 53-man roster leagues. So
Agreed. Yeah, in my home league, I have
yeah.
we're still team defense. The Cowboys defense scored 37 points, which was
Baby.
unbelievable.
Damn. That's awesome. I hope that person won. Didn't have
Yes.
the T. Higgins, Drake London stack that I've been seeing so much.
No, it was me. I had it.
Okay.
I got a bit lucky against my fiance, and I kind of whipped her butt.
Oh boy, you're in the doghouse now.
Oopsies.
All
Last but
right.
not least, the
Last but
Giants
not
at
least,
the 2-hour mark. If you're still with us, thanks for watching and
holy
listening.
smokes. All right. So we got the Giants. Again, this one's hard to evaluate because of everything. Bobby O'Gree, he did play 100% snaps, which is nice to see. Would have liked a stronger stat line altogether. He was outscored by Micah McFadden, who seems to have the number 2 spot locked down. So that's good information. Isaiah Simmons stunk. He played only 26% of snaps and played mostly on special teams. So he is a drop and a fade until somebody gets injured. The pass rushers and Thibodeau and Ojolari didn't really have a chance to give us much. Nobody on the defensive line really did much of anything because of the game script. Jason Pinnock, the safety, played 100% of snaps next to Xavier McKinney, so could be a nice little streamer all year long. We saw Julian Love be able to have a really nice year next to McKinney, so this year that could be Pinnock. So do you got anything for the Giants?
No, I think you nailed it. Okariki's the guy. McFadden, that will be a beneficial spot if he continues to get those close to 80% snap percentages. Dexter Lawrence, like it's hard to learn anything here, right?
Yeah.
Like you expect to get
So
more from
hard.
Lawrence, but and all that defensive line, but it's just a bad day. It's just a bad day.
Yeah.
I think if you have any of those quote unquote stud guys, continue to roll them out.
Yeah.
But yeah, unfortunately, hopefully you made it past week 1 though with a W regardless.
That burr. All right, that brings us to a close. 2 hours and 2 minutes. We thank everyone. I'll let you sign off first here.
Yeah. Be sure to like and subscribe to this video. If you made it this far, come on. What are you waiting for? We really appreciate it. Please comment in this video, though, if you liked this format. Like, we want to give you these reviews at the end of each week to give you our takeaways. But yeah, did you like the way we presented this? If not, we are totally flexible. We want to make sure that we're getting you the information that you need. So please let us know there. But yeah, week 1. What a way to end it with that kick return touchdown by the Hard Knocks star. I love football. I love that it's back, and I'm hoping that we help someone out there get prepared for the next week on the waiver wires. So good luck next week.
Yes, sir. You can find these charts and these reviews will be in written article format coming up tomorrow, as well as our game previews that come out every Thursday. So if you're looking for previews and start sit advice, that will be on our written content coming out on Thursday. So again, thank you. Please give us a shot, become a subscriber, join in, use the discount code for 10% off, IDP +pod. IDP plus pod as a discount code. So thanks everyone for listening. We'll see you next week.
Good luck.
Thank you for watching this IDP guys video. If you like this content and you want more fantasy football content, click here. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more videos to help you master your IDP league, click here to subscribe.